The Boston Red Sox made a big win-now move by trading for Willson Contreras. How it impacts a team looking to make a deep run in 2026.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free. So make sure that you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. And it is now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Happy Monday, say the Boston Red Sox, who made a big trade yesterday, acquiring Willson Contreras from the Cardinals. Today's show is all about that trade. Going to be discussing what he brings to the table for Boston, what the Red Sox gave up in this trade, and what this indicates for Triston Casas and the rest of the Boston Red Sox roster. So it seems like the Red Sox are very familiar and comfortable working with the Cardinals. This is the second time this offseason that the Red Sox have made a trade with the Cardinals. They acquired Sonny Gray from the Cardinals back in November. And now here we are again with these two teams doing business again. Chaim Bloom now with the Cardinals organization, a guy who knows the Red Sox system very well because that is where he went to the Cardinals from. So he and Craig Breslow seem to have a good working relationship. We're able to work out yet another deal for a Red Sox team that really needed a bat. And even at the trade deadline, the Red Sox also made a trade with the Cardinals when they acquired Steven Matz. So the Cardinals are no stranger to the Boston Red Sox. And this Red Sox team, prior to the trade that was made yesterday, had blatant holes in the lineup, really needed two bats to help stabilize this lineup and put it in contention with other American League lineups moving forward. And the Red Sox were in a situation where their infield had a lot of question marks. That was the area that needed to be primarily addressed when it came to acquiring bats, specifically right-handed bats. The outfield still overcrowded, like I've mentioned before, but the Red Sox trading for Willson Contreras is a good move for them. This is a guy who should slot in very nicely at Fenway Park. So what does this exactly look like? So the Cardinals are sending Willson Contreras and cash to the Red Sox. And the exact dollar amount is $8 million to help cover the balance of the $82.5 million remaining deal that he signed with St. Louis prior to the 2023 season. So what exactly is the breakdown on that? So the 33-year-old Contreras is due to make $18 million in 2026 and $18.5 million in 2027. There is a $17.5 million club option for 2028 that includes a $5 million buyout. So essentially, the Red Sox are going to be paying him for the next couple seasons, but the Cardinals did send $8 million with him in order to help the Red Sox pay for him. So understanding that Contreras is on the older side, 33 years old, I would understand the hesitancy surrounding the Red Sox trading for him if he had more time left on his deal. This whole trade was tailor-made for the Boston Red Sox because Contreras only has a couple more years left. And as we know with the way that this Red Sox front office operates, they have been hesitant to bring in players on longer-term deals who are in their 30s. So with this Contreras situation and him only having a couple of years left, this is a perfect situation for a Red Sox team that really needed a veteran to mix in with a lot of young talent. Because I talked about this on the show last week, that the Red Sox have a lot of young players on this team. And eventually you want to start mixing those younger players with elite veteran talent to help push the team over the top. And Willson Contreras is a 10-year veteran who is also a 3-time All-Star, who happens to also be a right-handed first baseman, and he'll bring balance to a hitting group that has a lot of lefties in it. So bringing in a solid right-handed bat is something that's really going to benefit the Red Sox. And this is a fun move, I would say, for Boston, because this is a guy who feels like will really boost this lineup. He hit 257 with a 344 on base percentage and 447 slugging with a 123 OPS plus, with 20 home runs in his time as a first baseman. He continues to possess explosive bat speed. And for the first time in his career, he lifted and pulled more than 19% of his balls in play. So his raw stats will probably look significantly better if that sticks in 2026. Fenway Park happens to be one of the top destinations for a right-handed hitter looking to pad his numbers, so he could absolutely thrive at Fenway. It feels like his bat is made to be hitting at Fenway Park, which is a huge plus for the Boston Red Sox. Generally, bat speed is one of the main concerns for right-handed first basemen aging into their mid-30s. That variable not only impacts their slugging capacity, but typically also their ability to keep their strikeout rate in check. And Contreras does swing and miss and punch out his fair share of the time, but it should be encouraging because he improved both his in-zone and overall contact rates in 2025, and he did so with only a slight reduction in his swing rate. Anything can obviously happen, but he looks like he probably will provide a lot of value for at least another above average showing or two over these next couple of seasons. So also notably with this Willson Contreras situation is he waived a no trade clause to come to Boston. Sonny Gray did the same thing. He also had a no trade clause that he had to waive in order to be traded to the Boston Red Sox. Contreras did the same thing. He'll also net $1 million for agreeing to waive that no trade clause. So minus what the Cardinals are sending over, the Red Sox will be responsible ultimately for $36 million over the next 2+ seasons, which will push the Red Sox closer to the first tax line. But again, they really shouldn't be staying under. They're the Boston Red Sox, that a team that has a playoff caliber roster in place that really should be in contention for the AL pennant in the World Series if all goes well. So for reference, the Chicago White Sox just signed Munetaka Murakami. The Red Sox are paying Contreras almost the exact same terms, with Murakami being younger, but arguably a lot riskier. It's also much less than the Orioles are paying Alonso, who shares some of the same general concerns as Contreras. So obviously the Red Sox saw a little bit more upside with Contreras, didn't have to commit as longer term with him, which is exactly what the Red Sox are looking for. So I truly believe that Contreras is a guy who will be able to hit for contact in Boston. 95th percentile in bat speed in 2025, 83rd percentile in hard hit percentage. Obviously has to keep an eye on the strikeouts because he was in only the 24th percentile in K percentage and then 44th percentile in walk percentage. So he was below average in both of those categories. So the swings and misses are going to come. But one of the biggest reasons why I feel confident that he could absolutely thrive in Boston is because of his swing technique and how Boston really does cater a lot to right-handed hitters. So not only is this a guy who could provide a lot of value in the Red Sox lineup, but also he's a guy who defensively could be a consistent first baseman. And it's exciting to think about the fact that the Red Sox have now added a veteran to a team that is full of young players. So I do like this for the Red Sox. I truly do believe that Willson Contreras is a guy, especially because they only have him for a couple seasons, that will be able to come in here and provide a lot of value for this Boston Red Sox team as they look to make a deep playoff run, hopefully going into 2026. He's played in 1,078 games in his career, slashing 258 with a 352 on base percentage and 459 slugging with 172 homers and 548 RBIs in his career. The most recent time that he was an all-star was in 2022 when he was with the Cubs, but this is a guy who has been around the game and he has a lot of experience as a versatile player because he had always been a catcher, but the momentum changed on that when he suffered a fractured left forearm after being hit by the bat of JD Martinez in May 2024, causing him to ultimately miss 6 weeks of the season. So then for the rest of that season, he ended up splitting time between catcher and DH. So then St. Louis, who wanted to keep him in the lineup more often, moved Contreras to first base in 2025, and he made a really smooth transition there. He was tied for fourth in Major League Baseball in outs above average with +6 in 2025 at the new position. So that's incredibly promising from a defensive standpoint, but also the fact that he provides flexibility because he also catches, and that's where his primary experience lied. So worst comes to worst, if one of their catchers gets hurt, he could also step into that role. Or even if the Red Sox find that one of their catchers struggles, say you go into the 2026 season and the Red Sox are still feeling confident in Connor Wong and Carlos Narvaez, but then maybe Narvaez starts to go through a bit of a sophomore slump after having a relatively solid rookie season, especially with the fact that Narvaez struggled in the second half of 2025. If he goes into 2026 and struggles, maybe they consider sending him down to AAA, and then maybe we're looking at Contreras catching. So it also leaves that option for the Boston Red Sox. This is a player that is going to fit really well in Boston. And coming up, I'm going to be going over what exactly the Red Sox gave up to get Contreras here. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Make sure that you take advantage of being able to win lots of money on FanDuel by downloading the app today. The Boston Red Sox have made yet another trade with the St. Louis Cardinals. They have acquired Willson Contreras, who was primarily a catcher for his career, but then switched to first base in 2025 and made a seamless transition to first. So that is very promising for a Red Sox team that had question marks in its infield. Now you're looking at a guy who could play first base consistently, but if you also do need a catcher, that's something that he could do as a backup option. Most likely the Red Sox trading for him doesn't mean they see him as a catcher for this team. I think the Red Sox still feel pretty locked into their catching tandem of Connor Wong and Carlos Narvaez. But just in case, if something were to happen, because again, you can't predict injuries in this sport, that is an option that he could always do. But most likely, he's going to be playing first base and probably DHing a little bit too. I'll get into that a little bit more later on. But what exactly did the Red Sox give up to get Willson Contreras here? Now, I've talked pretty extensively on this show about Craig Breslow and how there are certain things that he has completely dropped the ball on in his time as the Boston Red Sox president of baseball operations. We can all agree that the Dustin May trade was pretty bad. That was a rough trade. Red Sox overpaid for him at the trade deadline in a panic move because they needed to feel like they did something. Didn't work out. Rafael Devers, the return in that trade, also questionable. Obviously, San Francisco paying the majority of what he is owed moving forward, as in the entirety of the salary, is significant. But the players they got back feel a little bit underwhelming, especially with the fact that a guy like Jordan Hicks has been struggling. So yes, he's had his blunders, but one thing that Craig Breslow has done a really good job of in his tenure here so far is really built up the Red Sox pitching. They have a lot of depth and a lot of arms in this system. And because of that, it makes it a lot easier for the Red Sox to be able to use those guys as trade pieces. And that is exactly what he did here. Craig Breslow gave up 3 pitchers in this trade, most notably being Hunter Dobbins. Now, the reason that the Cardinals paid some of Contreras' salary was so they could get a better player return in the deal. They did the same thing in the Sonny Gray deal where they took on some of his remaining salary to get an extra player in that deal. So in total, the Cardinals will have spent $28 million to ensure that the Red Sox could take both players on. So that seems to be something that works in the Cardinals' favor, is saying, hey, we'll send you money so that you can add an extra player in. So exactly what the Red Sox gave up to get Willson Contreras. So they gave up right-handed pitcher Hunter Dobbins, Yoiker Fajardo, who is also a right-handed pitcher, and Blake Aida. Those are the 3 pitchers that the Red Sox gave up. Now, who exactly are these pitchers? So Dobbins is 26 years old and appeared 13 times and compiled a 4.13 ERA and a 2.65 strikeout to walk ratio before tearing his ACL in July. He had made it up to the majors, and it was really exciting watching him because he showed really impressive stuff and a tremendous amount of poise on the mound. He threw 5 pitches at least 9% of the time last season, including 3 different breaking balls, a shorter slider, longer sweeper, and a curveball that generated his highest whiff rate. Also, Dobbins' mid-90s fastball featured far more cutting action than expected, though the pitch quality algorithms consider it to be a below-average offering anyway. So that pitch wasn't his best. Opponents hit 316 off of it and slugged 453. So obviously the off-speed stuff helped him to be a lot more successful. But I liked what I saw from Hunter Dobbins prior to him getting hurt. So when he returns to the fold, he could figure into the back of the Cardinals' rotation. Think about this. The Cardinals have already added 2 other prospective starters this winter. Dustin May, speaking of him, they signed him, and they also have Richard Fitz, part of who the Red Sox gave up in the Sonny Gray trade. So he's somebody who the Cardinals could use in their rotation. And I had talked about on the podcast when I broke down the Red Sox 40-man roster and where it stood. I broke down all of the Red Sox pitching options, and Hunter Dobbins was one of a few players that I mentioned that could fight for a spot in the rotation. And the reason that he wasn't definitively somebody who I could conclude is going to be in the rotation was, again, because it goes back to the fact that the Red Sox have depth in their pitching rotation and just in their system in general, lots of guys that they can choose from to fill certain roles. So that's why there was uncertainty there. And that's why they could afford to give up one of those pitchers, because it made more than enough sense to address other needs on the roster rather than keeping all of these pitchers around and then not really having a spot for all of them. So the fact that they gave up Hunter Dobbins as the lead name in this trade is promising, because the Red Sox got a player who is going to contribute and make them a better team for a couple of years. And in return, they're giving the Cardinals a guy who has a lot of promise on the mound, but the Red Sox ultimately could have been concerned about his injury stuff. And it's hard to guarantee that a pitcher is going to come back and be dominant after injury. So I like Hunter Dobbins a lot. Think he's a really hard worker, and he does all of the little things right, and I wish him the absolute best of luck. But it did make sense for the Red Sox to part ways with one of those pitchers from the Hunter Dobbins, Kyle Harrison, Cutter Crawford group of pitchers who were looking to slot into that rotation somewhere. So Dobbins was a guy the Red Sox said, okay, he might not necessarily be part of our future. We're worried about his injuries. Here you go. So he was the main piece that the Red Sox gave up. Fajardo is a 19-year-old who was acquired last winter from the Chicago White Sox in exchange for a lefty Cam Boozer. He's a tall right-hander who spent most of last season in the Carolina League, tallying a 2.98 ERA and a 2.95 strikeout to walk ratio. He's predictably, given his youth, a work in progress, still has a ways to go. His arsenal includes a pair of fastballs that can get into the mid to upper 90s, as well as a quality breaking ball. He's thrown strikes and coerced a high rate of ground balls thus far, and there's a clear pathway for him to become a big league starter in due time. He just needs to continue to work on increasing that arsenal and just working on his technique a little bit. But he was the number 23 prospect in the Red Sox system. So obviously the Red Sox didn't have to give up any of their top 20 prospects in this trade, which is good news. And obviously Chaim Bloom sees something that they can work with him. So then there's Aida, who's 22 years old and was a 6th round pick in the 2024 draft. He made 23 appearances across low and high A, scoring a 3.98 ERA and a 3.30 strikeout to walk ratio. He features a flatter plane to the plate and a tremendous feel for spin that manifests in a quality slider, among other pitches too. He's a candidate to take a step forward with the right player development support, making him another possible big league contributor, maybe even in a starting role if everything goes well. So obviously these two pitching prospects still have work to do, and it's not the flashiest set of names, but Chaim Bloom definitely added 3 intriguing arms to the Cardinals system who could log starts or innings over the years to come. So the good news, and essentially what all of this means, is that the Red Sox got a guy who for the next couple of seasons is going to be a big impact on this team, and they addressed a big, massive need that they had this offseason for a guy who, for one, is proven, because you want proven guys, and win now teams go with proven guys. For two, he's a veteran, so he can provide leadership in the clubhouse, kind of like what Bregman did last year, to a team that has a lot of young players on it. So that's going to be beneficial. And for three, a guy who's just been around for a long time, so he kind of knows the ups and downs of this game. So a guy who's going to help them for the next couple of years, and they gave up 2 pitching prospects. One of them was an unranked prospect in their system. The other one was a number 23 in their system, and Hunter Dobbins, who had not spent a ton of time in the majors. When he did, he impressed, but the injuries make it hard to feel 100% like he's going to be a guy who would have contributed effectively in 2026. So I say the Red Sox did pretty well in this trade by also getting cash back in the trade as well from the Cardinals. So what exactly does this all mean for Triston Casas and the rest of the Red Sox lineup? That's coming up next. In the midst of basketball season, and there's nothing like being in the building, the crowd, the energy, the moments you can't get watching from the couch. The only problem, though, getting tickets used to be a hassle with long queues, logins, and prices changing at checkout. That's why Game Time is such a game changer. It puts the advantage back in the fans' hands and makes scoring great NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. So I pulled up the Game Time app to check out upcoming Celtics games and found great seats in just a few taps. And you know how pricey the Garden can be for those games. So head to Game Time immediately if you want to go to a Celtics game, because I promise you'll be amazed with the prices. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. I don't use any other ticketing vendor, and I highly recommend it for you as well. And I also recommend joining our Everydayer Club. If you love the Boston Red Sox as much as I do, this is the perfect time to get ad-free episodes. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. Exactly what you'll get is access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Red Sox, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You'll also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. So head to lockedonredsox.supercast.com, and it's also the link in the description of the YouTube video, and you can learn more that way and join the Everydayer Club. So make sure that you take advantage of that and do that. And if you want to take it one step further, you can join the All Access tier, which this is really cool because not only do you get the ad-free episodes and the Discord server, but you also get special all access content that you won't see anywhere else, and one-on-one texting with me to get all of your questions answered. So again, to join any of this and get any of these perks, which I promise are worth it, go to lockedonredsox.supercast.com and sign yourself up today so that you don't miss out on any of the exclusive content that I provide. Willson Contreras is officially a member of the Boston Red Sox, and people have been patiently waiting for the Red Sox to make more moves this offseason. Earlier on in the offseason, they made some trades for pitching, and then now they acquired their first bat of the offseason in Willson Contreras. Now, he is going to slot in very nicely into the Red Sox lineup. And now the question becomes, what does this mean for Triston Casas? Because Triston Casas will be coming back from injury in 2026. That caused him to miss the majority of the 2025 season. And it's been something that people have been wondering about is how much do the Red Sox believe in Triston Casas, because he's not a guy who has been able to play a lot as of late. And that has been concerning because he had a ruptured left patellar tendon that he suffered that ended his 25 season on May 2nd. And then the Red Sox struggled to find protection at first base for the rest of the season. They were platooning between Romy Gonzalez and then Abraham Toro. And then they picked up Nathaniel Lowe late in the season, but there was just no real consistency at first base after that. And the thing with Triston Casas is that he also spent a lot of the 2024 season injured. So he's total just 93 games played over the last two seasons. So a win now team would not bank on the health and productivity of Triston Casas. And I personally like Triston Casas. I think there's a lot of upside to him. I think he's a player who, when he's at his best, has a really high ceiling and a lot of potential. But the problem is, because he has been injured a lot the last couple seasons, it's hard to bank on him getting to that level of productivity. I'm not saying he can't, but you never really know with a player who has spent a lot of time on the IL, really what you can actually expect and rely on from that player. So the thing that the Red Sox could do, because now they have Willson Contreras here, because of the fact that Triston Casas is also here and not knowing how he's going to perform, this could be an opportunity for the Red Sox to maybe say to Tristan, hey, you're going to start the season in AAA because we want to give you some reps there and make sure you're back in the swing of things before you get called back up to the majors. Because again, coming back from injury, it's hard to really know. And this goes to show, this move right here, that the Red Sox weren't 100% confident in going into the season, banking on Triston Casas to be fully healthy and be their everyday first baseman. So what they could do is they could platoon these two. They could have Contreras and Casas both play first base, and then the other player is DHing when the other one plays first. But then the problem with that is, where does Masataka Yoshida go? Again, another player who I've brought up multiple times on this podcast over the offseason, and the fact that he kind of complicates a lot of things for the Red Sox when it comes to the offseason, because if Yoshida wasn't here, then that could feel like an easier solution of, okay, we're both going to get first base reps and we're also both going to DH, but then there's nowhere really to put Yoshida since his primary job is the DH. So because of the fact that Yoshida is still here and Alex Cora did mention that they feel like he's going to be a big part of what they do in 2026. I'm not necessarily seeing the platoon of first base and DH really happening. What I'm seeing is they brought in Willson Contreras to primarily be their everyday first baseman, and Triston Casas, maybe they'd be open to trading him. It may be difficult to trade him right now because of the injuries, and teams sometimes are hesitant to trade for players with that type of injury history because they don't want to trade for him and then risk him getting hurt again. And it's also hard for them to feel confident in his ability level because they haven't gotten to really see him at his full potential because of the injuries. So it may be hard to find a trade partner for him, but they could have him start the season in AAA and then really work on things at the beginning of the season at least, and then make sure that they're really developing him the right way, because now they have Contreras here for a couple seasons as a security blanket, and then eventually maybe they feel like Casas is up to par with what they're looking for in terms of their everyday first baseman. But this takes so much pressure off of Triston Casas. Am I thinking he's going to be traded this offseason? No, but I do think there's a likely possibility that the Red Sox either have him start the season in AAA or they have him platoon a little bit at first base with Contreras. Maybe Contreras gets more of the playing time at first, and then Casas gets less playing time, but still plays first sometimes to give Contreras a rest and allow Casas to ease back into it. That's the type of situation I'm picturing here for what's going to happen with Triston Casas. And then you have to figure, where does Yoshida fit into the equation because of the fact that he is the DH? If the Red Sox like the idea of Contreras DHing some days, then they're going to have to swallow the pride and just say, we're paying Yoshida a lot of money, but he's no longer going to be an everyday player on this team. He's going to get less at-bats, and that is just going to be what it is. So there are different options of things that the Red Sox could do here, but I do see Contreras coming here to be the primary first baseman. He's a right-handed veteran hitter who's a proven talent, and that is the difference. And that was something that I talked about on the show was, yes, the Red Sox have a lot of young talent and exciting, talented young talent, guys who you can't help but feel like are going to be big contributors, but you don't know for sure. You never know how a player's development is exactly going to go. So that's why it's important, even when you feel really excited and positive about the future, you need to get proven guys in there to mix with those players. And that's exactly what Contreras provides. And the type of hitter that Contreras is a proven hitter of basically the same type that Casas could be if he reaches his potential. But the problem is we haven't seen that from him yet. So the difference here and why Contreras is an upgrade over Casas is because Contreras has done it. We know he can do it. He's a 3-time All-Star and he's proven. So we know a little bit more of what we're getting from him. So if the Red Sox can mix more guys like that in where we know what we're getting from them because they're veterans, that's going to be a team that's going to be really exciting because you're allowing the young talent to continue to develop with less pressure, but you're also mixing in those veteran guys who are going to be able to help steer those young players in the right direction. So this is a good situation overall, but with Triston Casas, I do feel like this means either starting the season in AAA or getting less playing time because I feel like the Red Sox just don't have confidence that he can handle playing every day right now because of his injury history. So we'll have to see how that all goes down, but overall good trade that I'm happy with. I do think Craig Breslow did a good job. Do we feel like it's maybe a slight overpay? Maybe, but you never know until prospects come up to the majors. This is a phrase I always say, prospects are prospects until they prove themselves at the major league level. We have no idea how either of those two pitchers is going to pan out. None until they actually do it. And win now teams, don't worry about that. They give up prospects to get talent that will help them win now. And that's exactly what the Red Sox did. I'm really excited to have Contreras here. Good move for Boston. Still more needs to be done. Ideally, one more big bat in the lineup would really feel like this lineup is a lot more solidified. So let's hope they do something like that. But thank you so much for tuning in today to Locked On Red Sox. Be sure to continue to tune in all throughout the offseason for more episodes discussing the Red Sox offseason. Make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you get all of the latest episodes. You can also follow me on Twitter at Gabby Maljanian or on Instagram at Gabby_Maljanian10. You can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox. So make sure you check out all of those. If you need a last-minute holiday gift or someone keeps asking what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club. Ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through LockedOnRedSox.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. So make sure you check out all of that. Take advantage of everything that Locked On has to offer. And like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.